Well, I always maintained that I thought Ron Paul was a con from day one. Despite his long voting record and what he says and everything he opposes and everything he stands for, like I said, I always thought it was like Santa Claus or something, and true opposition gets eliminated. I'm going to give the example of John F. Kennedy. Now, John F. Kennedy didn't run on an election that he would end the Fed. But basically, he kind of did something a little bit sneaky when he started issuing the silver certificates. Basically, he wasn't really saying, I'm going to end the Fed, but that was one of the reasons he was assassinated. Now, I also want to point a little bit about his assassination itself. You know, the guy actually could have been killed medically pretty easily because he was not in very good health. Even though he was a young president, he was not in good health. There was a lot of things wrong with him. When they assassinated Kennedy, basically that was a psych op put onto the American public like, there you go. There you go. And same thing with this guy here. He'll never get it. He's an insider. This guy would never get assassinated in a million years. He's an insider. And the game is, basically deflect all the real opposition, get them behind this guy financially, put all their efforts behind it, and it's a dead end. It's a total dead end. Well, he's got my vote anyway. Like, even though I was criticizing him from the beginning, now that I know he's a fake, but Mitt Romney doesn't have my vote because he's a Nazi, and Obama doesn't have my vote because he's a communist. That's just the way it goes. So he's getting written in as the vote. But I even want to tell you something else. It gets worse. Yeah, no, bearer of good news, right? Say Ron Paul did go on an independent ticket. Say he had all these really good bodyguards and stuff too, right? Nobody's going to nail him, right? And then the other thing you'd have to worry about is, say a majority of people woke up. The other thing you got to worry about is the voter tabulation itself. God, that has been screwed up for a long time. I've seen and read and seen things on videos where people testify. I know there's a guy in Florida, Tallahassee or something, stated that he wrote programs that can manipulate the vote. I've known about this for a long time. You can flip the vote 49-51 to any candidate you want. And the more electronic voting there is, that's just how it is. And you know who counts the votes? The major media counts the votes. So it really is a pretty impossible situation trying to get somebody, especially in the presidency, to make a difference on anything. But I would urge this, just lack of cooperation with any kind of bullshit that's involved on anything. I'm not going to say anything specific, but one of the things, buying silver, that's not a bad idea. It's money that's outside the banking system, right? They're not going to be able to suppress the price of silver forever, although I don't think it's like totally suppressed like people think. I think what's going to happen is the actual American dollar is going to have some problems in the future. May not right away, but it will. It will. And actual real assets is the only place to be. Now, I want to go over something else. This is another conspiracy thing. Talking about the Olympics, right? 2012 Olympics. I saw some of the things out there about, the Illuminati playing cards and all this kind of garbage with the references to the 5 colors of the rings, and Big Ben in the background, and blowing up and all this type of stuff. I saw the Chinese commercial. Usually when the rumor gets around a lot, it never happens. But another thing that piqued my interest was about Forbes magazine printing an article. I'm not going to display the article, but it was about a month or so ago. I think it was in April 2012. About, despite all the heavy security around the 2012 Olympics, there was still somebody that got in there with a bomb and undetected, or they finally found out about it, after it could have went off or something. So those kind of stories floating around bring credibility that something could happen. Now, the guys that are running this country, the real ones, they're very shrewd. Um, Actually, I think I got a pretty good handle on what they're going to do. But I think this Olympic deal might be a pretty good bet. It might be. Depends on if a gazillion people find out about it. You know? I think there's something to this garbage, some of this conspiracy garbage. I think there's a little bit to it. You know, because the Twin Towers, thank God, you know, it didn't take much to convince me what was going on there. God, none at all. I'm very, my senses are very tuned to like almost like streetwise a little bit, but I'm well read and educated too. And my opinion on Ron Paul was he was a scam from day one. He was a con. Rand Paul, his statements, it's basically all orchestrated with the family. They know what the deal is. That's just a nice slick way for him to back out and just throw everything over to Mitt Romney. They're all on the inside. But like I stated, you know, probably the best thing you could do is just vote for Ron Paul anyway. You know, it's almost like, screw you. Screw you. And the second step I would do, I would start pulling money out of banks. If you got money in accounts in there, just take the physical cash. Screw it. The hell with it. I mean, you got to keep money in the bank. Just keep more physical cash on hand and don't put it all in the bank. That's all. I think that's just another simple method. Physical cash. You can go physical metals too. Because really the real game that's going on, it's the banking sector that's screwing people. And the power is actually through money. But they do know how to freaking get people behind them. See, there was a lot of people put a lot of money into this guy's stupid campaign, which is like I was saying from day one, I didn't trust it. Man, a lot of people, I mean, even now, you know, the last video I made, it's like 50-50. People hate it. They don't even want to hear what I'm saying right now. I did not trust this guy. I like what he says. I'm all for what he says, pretty much. Except for whacking Iran. I think I would do that. But, yeah, I would have whacked Iran because they are screwed up. And I'm not talking about Muslims and Islam in general, but the guys that are running Iran are a bunch of kooks. The hell with them. That's the way I look at it. I don't need to be convinced on anything on that. I already figured that out, you know. But as far as most of the other things about ending the Federal Reserve and true free trade, less regulation, that type of stuff, medicinal marijuana oil, growing industrial hemp, those are all very good things that Ron Paul's for. This piece of shit Mitt Romney, you know what you need to do? You need to put it on his supporters about a lot of things that he's for. Because the guy's basically a Nazi. That's all he is. He's a Nazi. He looks like a Nazi. Looks like he was raised in a camp someplace, you know, going Heil Hitler. I don't like that guy at all. He's really screwed up. And I can read him like a book. He will throw anybody under the bus for his own little freaking smiley ass face. He's a pile of shit like every other politician out there. Now, Ron Paul, he played a scam. He's on the inside too. You know, I was listening a little bit about Webster Tarpley said. I pretty much agree with a lot of stuff he says too. You know, one thing he was bringing up about Ron Paul being part of like the Freemasons, family part of it, parents part of it. I know. It's a and I mean, I don't really. What the hell does that mean to me? Not much, but it's like it tells you something. I mean, if all these people into conspiracies and stuff, and the Masons control this and that, which I don't know if they do or don't. You know, there's a lot of groups out there freaking vying for control. But if you're all into conspiracies, then Ron Paul is part of that too. This whole thing was a scam. It was a con. But I'm interesting when I'm also beginning to wonder, this is coming up pretty soon. Could be bullshit, you know, just like the Gulf is going to blow up or something. I had this Dr. Dingle talking about whatever his damn name was, Dingle, whatever his damn name was, about the Gulf blowing up last year or the year before when they're talking about the methane that was in the Gulf, You know, he's so damn sure about it. Freaking fearmonger idiot. Well, I'm not going to the 2012 Olympics anyway, so I'm not worried about it. And actually, I wonder what their attendance rate's going to be if this gets out a lot. But assuming their attendance rate is very high, that means the general public is not going to believe this general message, and maybe if it's intended to happen, it will happen. Now, I'm going to look at it from this angle. Whenever, like when we had the problem with 911, what happened to the stock market? Pretty much got clobbered, didn't it? If you're going to be holding off on buying, I think I would wait until this time frame, see if something happens down over here. And, you know, there may be some serious dips in prices on some stocks, some commodities or whatever. That might be the buying opportunity for this year for sure. And then you'll win out. Now, considering I ain't planting a bomb, I'm just going to figure that, and I don't even know if this is going to happen. My instincts tell me it may be legit. It may be legit because there's too much coincidental evidence out there that kind of suggests it was. Those Illuminati playing cards look pretty good. Chinese commercial looked pretty good. And even the story from Forbes looked pretty good to me. You know, kind of telling people, you know, they can sneak a bomb in there anytime. So, forget about stupid Ron Paul. He's a bunch of bull crap. I'm going to write his name in anyway. But, you know, even if you got on the ticket, have fun trying to get elected with a bunch of rigged elections anyway, right? So, just write the guy's name in. To hell with it, you know. And actually, if you write people's names in, it's probably better because they pretty much have to count them. I mean, if you actually had a majority of people writing in a name that wasn't electronic, right? You just wrote it in, they'd have to count it. That would pretty much screw them up. But I doubt you're going to wake up that many people anyway. But I just want to state again, you know, even now everybody's getting pissed off. Well, let's say about half and half. God. I was saying this, I didn't believe this guy from day one. He was sincere. I don't care about his voting record. I'm just telling you that they kill people for less than this. I can give you a lot of examples. Larry McDonald, Congressman Larry McDonald, was a good one. And I think you could say that was just an accident with KAL 007. But I think that plane landed safely. They never found any wreckage. And I think all those people were hauled off to the Soviet Union at the time. And it might have just been a plan to get rid of him because he was on there. He was a problem. He was a real problem. And you saw what happens with Kennedy, right? And his brother, right? You know, Bobby Kennedy, same thing. Somebody's a real problem. They get rid of him. And they don't have to do it in a public way. They do that to just show you, see, we could do it. That's why they do it that way. It's a mind fuck. It's like, screw you. And you know, I'm not too surprised about the way this whole thing wound up, but he still got my vote. Because that Nazi rip Mitt Romney ain't got my vote, and Obama the communist doesn't have my vote either. So hey, I'm going to write one in. They can figure out how to fudge write-ins too, you know, electronically, especially if I got to scroll with a pen or something like that. Here's the name. Big capital letters, Ron Paul.